Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to zoom in on just 2 verses from the book of Daniel. But these 2 verses, they mark one of the biggest turning points in ancient history. It's the moment a kingdom falls and a massive empire rises to take its place.
Now, on the surface, this sounds pretty straightforward, right? It almost reads like a simple headline from back in the day. But wow, packed inside these few words is the start of an epic story. We're talking clashing empires, defiant kings, and what the text presents as divine judgment. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack the incredible history hiding behind these 2 short verses.
All right, so at the heart of this whole thing, you've got 2 men, 2 kings, who are on an absolute collision course. And really, their decisions are what set the stage for the fall of Jerusalem and the beginning of the Babylonian exile.
I mean, just look at this contrast. It's like night and day. On one side, you have this absolute powerhouse, Nebuchadnezzar the Great. This guy is a legendary builder, a military genius, and the longest reigning king of the new Babylonian Empire. The prophet Jeremiah even calls him God's servant, like he's a tool being used for a much bigger purpose. And then you've got Jehoiakim of Judah. He's a vassal king, which basically means he's a puppet ruler put in place by another power, in his case, Egypt. The text says he did evil, and his big claim to fame? Rebelling against the most powerful man on the planet. Not a great move.
And if you thought the description of his reign was bad, wow. The prophecies against Jehoiakim were just brutal. This one from Jeremiah paints such a grim picture of how he's going to end up. We're not talking about a royal funeral here. We're talking about being treated like a dead animal, his body just dragged out and dumped outside the city gates. This tells you just how serious his rebellion was considered, not just politically, but spiritually.
Okay, so to really get what's happening here, we've got to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. The world at this time was in total chaos. It's like a giant geopolitical chessboard. The old superpower, Assyria, is crumbling, and you have these 2 titans, Egypt and Babylon, in a massive struggle for control. And poor Judah, it's the small square on the board stuck right in the middle of them.
So check out how fast all this goes down. In 69 BC, Judah's king is killed, and they become a puppet state for Egypt. But just 4 years later, boom, everything changes. At the Battle of Carchemish, a young, ambitious Nebuchadnezzar absolutely crushes the Egyptians. And that right there, that was the moment Babylon became the new undisputed superpower. Nebuchadnezzar doesn't waste any time. He marches straight to Jerusalem, and Jehoiakim has no choice but to bend the knee. But as you can see, that loyalty was short-lived. He rebels, and it turns out to be a fatal mistake.
So that brings us to the big question, right? What exactly pushed Nebuchadnezzar to invade? Well, it wasn't just one thing. It was more like a perfect storm. You had politics, military strategy, and theology all coming to a head at the exact same moment.
And here's the crucial point. You can't really separate these 3 reasons. They're all woven together. First, you've got the political side. Blatant treason. Jehoiakim broke a sworn oath, a huge no-no in the ancient world. Second, it's just pure military strategy. Judah was prime real estate. Think of it like a highway interchange between Asia and Africa. Babylon had to control it to keep its main rival, Egypt, boxed in. And third, layering over all of it, the prophets saw this as divine judgment, the ultimate consequence for Judah turning its back not just on Babylon, but on its own God.
Now, this is where Nebuchadnezzar's strategy gets really clever. He wasn't just some brute who showed up to smash things and steal gold. Oh no, his plan was much smarter, much more long-term. He basically kicked off one of the ancient world's biggest brain drains. He didn't just take the kingdom's wealth, he took its entire future.
So yeah, why do this? Why specifically target the young, the smart, the well-connected kids from Judah's royal and noble families? This wasn't random looting. It was a very calculated, very strategic political move.
It was an absolutely brilliant 3-part plan. Step 1 was an insurance policy. You take the royal heirs as hostages. Back in Jerusalem, the nobles are going to think twice about causing trouble when their own sons are living in Babylon. Step 2, this is the genius part, assimilation. Don't just lock up your brightest enemies, re-educate them. Turn them into loyal, productive citizens who can actually help you run your empire. And the crazy part, without even knowing it, he was also fulfilling an old prophecy from Isaiah, who said that one day, descendants of Judah's kings would end up serving in the palace of the king of Babylon.
And this is where some very familiar names pop up. Among the young men chosen for this program were Daniel and his 3 friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Think about it. These were the best and brightest, the future leaders of Judah,
now basically enrolled in a 3-year intensive course designed to rewire them, to turn them into loyal servants of Babylon.
So this single event, this siege, was so much more than just another battle. It was a seismic shift in history. It truly was the end of one era and the very dramatic, very turbulent beginning of a new one. This quote right here just nails it. The Babylonian exile wasn't just a political defeat or a military disaster. It was seen as a theological earthquake. It was the turning point for what the Bible calls the theocracy.
So, what in the world does that mean, theocracy? Well, in this context, think of it like this. It's a nation that believes it is ruled directly by God, with his temple at its center and his chosen king on the throne. For centuries, this is how Israel saw itself, as this unique, independent kingdom, a kind of holy island in a sea of pagan empires. And with the siege of Jerusalem, all of that was about to come crashing down.
And this slide just lays out how radical that change really was. Before, Israel is a sovereign nation. After, it's just another province, passed around between world empires for centuries. Before, the throne of David in Jerusalem is the center of their universe. After, the center of power is Babylon. This is a monumental shift. It's the first time God's people are forced to figure out how to live out their faith, not as an independent nation, but as a scattered community, as exiles in a foreign land.
And all of this leaves us with this incredible, mind-bending paradox. Nebuchadnezzar's whole plan was designed to absorb and erase Judah's identity. So how does an exile that was meant to crush a nation end up being the very thing that preserves it, strengthens its faith, and reshapes world history? Well, that's the question that sets the stage for everything that comes next in the amazing story of Daniel.